we've got another big assistant coach opening that needs to be replaced. That's at Texas with Tashard Choice. And who is going to replace him? We got a couple candidates possibly coming, whether that's from the Big Ten, Leanne, or the ACC.
Yeah, this is not as easy it was for Ohio State to hire within, but some of the guys that we're hearing early rumblings do have some ties to Texas. Obviously, Tassar Choice, it seemed like he was going to stay intact down in Austin with the Longhorns at the running back coach's position. He was initially offered the job with the Dallas Cowboys to come join their team. He decided that was a no-go. So it seemed like Coach Sark was going to be able to move forward. Of course, Choice has been with the program since 2022. Has done a fantastic job on the recruiting trail, but more importantly, done a great job in developing the different running backs that have come through. Of course, Bijan Robinson is one of the most recent names, and the list just goes on. So he's definitely has been a staple for the Longhorns. A lot of consistency and continuity. This definitely will. I don't see that as far as the recruiting trail from some of the running backs that we've been talking about that are set to visit Austin for some unofficial and official visits here in the next couple months. While they are concerning, they feel like Coach Sark is going to be able to make a strong replacement and some of the guys that we're hearing about early. But he will be taking, of course, Tashad Choice decided to go to the NFL. But instead of heading to Dallas, he's going to be heading to Detroit to join the Lions team there. So some of the early names that we're hearing about, of course, EJ Barthel, Nebraska running backs coach. Him and Matt Rule have been kind of that yin to the yang as far as him coaching. Of course, he was with Matt Rule at the Carolina Panthers and at Temple, and now he joins with him at the Cornhuskers. He himself, who better than to develop and coach running backs as a former running back. Barthel's a very interesting, kind of case. He has a lot of experience, of course. He was a running back at Rutgers from I believe, the 2003 to the 2005 season. And then transferring over to UMass. He brings a unique skill set because I say this, he hasn't had a lot of big time jobs as far as where he's been. He's made stops. He's really made his splash as far as developing running backs at the East Coast. Some of the programs he's been with, obviously, on the collegiate circuit have been UConn, William and Mary, and Howard as a running backs coach. I think he really kind of set the tone of what kind of as good a running backs coach and assistant as he can be. I think where he really, kind of shined and kind of made his mark in a more big time program early on was when he was brought on as the recruiting coordinator at Penn State in 2017. And of course, this last season with Dante Dowell rushing for 614 yards and Emmett Johnson added 598 yards. So as far as bringing that whole package, EJ Barthel, former running back at Rutgers, has numerous coaching experiences. Again, now they're not at big time programs. He has worked under Matt Rule, and I think that that's something that will bring a lot of legitimacy to him being a possible candidate to replace at Texas. And of course, like I said, even though he's not within the Texas program, he does have those Texas ties. Of course, Kyle Flood, Longhorn offensive coordinator. He was Barthel was the guy that he brought on for player development and recruiting coordinator from 2013 to 2014 while he was at Rutgers. So I think EJ Barthel, again, while as far as his coaching experience, doesn't have a lot of big time programs, especially SEC programs, I kind of think he brings a unique twist. I really like the different places he's been involved in on the recruiting trail, especially in Texas. I think he will open up a unique skill set outside, obviously, what he can do to develop running backs. Clearly, he has no problem going into big time programs and finding success with young running backs, obviously with transfer portal running backs. So I think he's one of the first guys that I put up on our list to be one of the candidates over in Austin to replace Choice down for the Longhorns. But like I said, when it comes to the choices as far as coaches, you got to be meticulous. A lot of the things that we talk a lot about recruiting with some of the players, how this will affect again both these guys. The second guy I'm going to mention, he also does bring a strong recruiting background to the table. And I say that that's so vital because in the spring, while there may not be a lot going on as far as play, the recruiting trail definitely heats up because we see a lot of these guys taking official visits. And again, when I talk to some of these high profile recruits, when we see kind of these changes where, we were scheduled to go on a visit, unofficial or or official, but they decide to a change of heart. It's often because their position coach or the coach that they build a relationship decides to move on. So while we're hearing that, this may be a little difficult as far as some guys possibly changing or maybe reopening the recruitment that have Texas really high up on their list. We don't think it's going to be a dramatic change. Now, changing back to the second guy, we kind of hear in the rumblings who might be up for the running backs position coach for the Longhorns over in Georgia Tech. Running backs coach Noel McKenzie, of course, he's right there in the heart of Atlanta, has really been a hot recruiter as far as the state of Georgia. And I really like this for the Longhorns to be able not only to get someone with his type of background. We've seen what Georgia Tech can do as far as development. They are just one of those programs I think we don't talk enough about as far as the kind of uh, talent development they do across the board. And I think McKenzie really brings a lot. And what I really like I said about him as far as the recruiting angle, is that he's an Atlanta native. He has really strong ties to the state of Georgia. And I think with Texas, despite it being so saturated, I think that, with a hire like him, bringing in that state of Georgia, that pipeline, opening up a different recruiting pipeline into the state of Texas could be something, with this kind of hire. And he was, like I said, he's got a strong track record. He was a running back at Vanderbilt from 2001 to 2004. He also made stops coaching at Louisville and Vanderbilt as well. And he's been at Georgia Tech for 2 seasons since 2023. Well, a year and a half, because we're going to that 2025 season. Um, and he really would help Buster Faulkner really up that power rushing attack for the Yellow Jackets with his 2 seasons in the ACC. Again, under him, they were bolstering when it came to the rushing attack. So not only again does he have a track record, and he does bring, I think, that stronger experience as far as coaching and recruiting. Even outside the SEC, obviously, at Vanderbilt, but he has that experience at Louisville as well. So I think he brings a really well-rounded thing to the table. But again, as far as the recruitment, I like his Georgia background. I like him being able to. He was credited with helping develop Jamal Haynes, who was an all-conference back, obviously at Georgia Tech. And again, Georgia Tech is one of kind of those programs that has just been known to strongly develop talent across the board, especially on the offense. So those are some of the guys. I'm sure that Texas will be making plenty of calls, but right now, as far as the running backs position, those are kind of the two names that we're hearing that are at the top of the list. We're also hearing rumblings of, Baylor coach that might be in the running, but we're hearing that's kind of cooled down. So I believe that it could very well be McKenzie or EJ Barthel heading to Austin.
Yeah, Leanne, as you mentioned, Jamal Haynes has been Norvell's prized development guy. That he has developed his skill into 1,000-yard back the last 2 years, about 960 last year, over 1,000 yards the season before. So 2,000 yards on the ground out of Jamal Haynes as a product of Norval McKenzie over the last 2 seasons at Georgia Tech. Folks,
And again, I don't.
Yep.
And again, like I said, I know that Texas is I don't think that Texas will be in a rush. It is obviously a pressing matter. We've seen that the run game, especially the SEC, has become something. The running back position has always been in value, but often overlooked. But we've seen this season just the need for a deep running back room, and so I believe that Texas will be not rushing towards making this higher, but I do believe they'll be meticulous because, of course, with the talent that they have, some of the names that we'll be talking about in the near future as far as running backs that Texas is looking at, they definitely want to have someone sooner rather than later, Mark.